Hello, friends. This is Sanjay Singh, your sales coach, and you are most welcome to this LinkedIn Live session where we are trying to target people who are fresh, people who are trying to make a career for themselves in sales, people who are trying to get themselves baptized into this function, and they are normally suffering from a lot of fears and apprehensions that is this the right profession to be into, and when they are trying to make this decision or when they are trying to take this decision, then the ecosystem creates a lot of myth for them, and these myths is what we want to break up today. So you're welcome to this program. This program is especially for all those of you who are fresh into sales and who are trying to make a career out of sales. It is even meant for those of you who are SME, small and medium enterprise CEOs, owners, because I know a lot of them who who think that they should be able to do their work without sales, who think that sales is a dirty word which is best left to employees. They don't want to do sales. This program is also meant for them so that it helps you in breaking some of the common myths of sales. So the first common myth of sale is the salesperson must be an extrovert. Whenever I talk to freshers, they say that, sir, I'm not able to talk very glibly. I'm not a big talker. I don't talk well. Well, this is a myth that salesperson is supposed to be an extrovert. In fact, the salesperson is supposed to be very good listener. He should be very good in listening because a salesperson is expected to listen actively and not to talk actively. So, those of you who feel that sales is about talking, it's actually not about talking. It's actually about listening and asking the right questions. So, to the extent that you know how to ask the right questions, that much talking is good enough. Balance, leave it to the customer to talk. So, this is a myth. You don't have to be an extrovert, you don't have to be a big talker to be becoming a great salesperson. Right? Fantastic. So we take you to myth number two, and let me tell you, I'm going to break 10 myths of sales today. So please stay with me in this live podcast because towards the end, the myths will become more complex, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy them. So the second myth that I want to break today is a salesperson must know all the answers. Now, whenever I meet a fresh salesperson or whenever I meet a youngster, he normally says, "Sir, I'm so junior. My qualification is so low, and I'm expected to meet such senior people in the market whose qualification is very high. They are much more educated than me. How can I answer their questions?" Now, this is a myth that salesperson must know all the answers. I'm not trying to advocate that your product knowledge should be poor. I'm sure whichever company you're working for will work hard towards improving your product knowledge. But whatever product knowledge you get, you will still find people in the market who are more knowledgeable than you, who are more educated than you. That doesn't mean that you get intimidated by them. A salesperson is actually supposed to know all the right questions to be asked to the customer. And very strange, it is the customer who has all the answers. So, those of you who feel that is a salesperson who is so intelligent that he goes and gives all the right answers to the customer, you're sadly wrong. A salesperson job is only to create a sales conversation by asking the right questions in the right sequence so that once you ask the questions it sets the customer talking and you create a conversation, and as you get become more experienced and go up in the hierarchy of sales, you are able to even make use of your product knowledge. But as a fresher, you are expected to set a sales conversation, understand a bit of the need analysis, and then hand over the lead to someone more knowledgeable than you to take it further from there. Right? So don't be worried that you don't know all the answers. Ask yourself, do I know all the questions that I need to ask to the customer? And that's good enough. All right. So so, all those of you who are there with me in this podcast, please feel free to put your questions in the chat box so that I could answer them for you. Okay, now let's come to myth number three. Salesperson must have a small ego to be able to face rejections. Now, many of you feel that a salesperson is supposed to be battered in the market, where the whole world is going to kick them and toss them all around, and their job is to have a very small ego so that they just get kicked around. No, I'm sorry to say this, that salesperson is not meant to be battered. He's not a punching bag. He's not meant to be battered all around. A salesperson, when he goes in the market, he's expected to put up his front to the customer, introduce himself or herself, and then ask the right questions. Why should you get battered? Why should you get kicked around? No, you need to have your own ego for sure, your self-esteem. There is a process that you need to follow. I'm sure if you follow the process, you will understand the importance of what I'm trying to tell you. So, coming to myth number 4, a salesperson must have good command over English. Now, those of you who feel that you do not do well in sales if your English is poor, I'm sorry to say that, my friend. English is just a language. Now, if your customer knows only English, then yes, you also need to know English. But when you're doing your business in India, how many people do you meet who knows only English and nothing else? I'm sure he knows Hindi. I'm sure he knows the vernacular of your state that you're working for. So don't get bogged down by English as a language. This is a very East India Company effect that is there on all of us. No, English has nothing to do with your success in sales. Good communication, clarity in your communication is very important. Whether you do that in Hindi, you do that in your vernacular language, as long as your discussion is being understood by the person you're talking to, you're good to go. So, English is a myth as far as success in sales is concerned. Now, if I take you forward, and that's midway to my program today, the fifth myth. And the fifth myth is salesperson must make friends easily. Now, I know a lot of people in sales who are freshers. They say that, sir, I don't like to meet everyone. I don't like to make friends with anyone. So, hence, I don't want to get into sales because in sales, I'm expected to be making friends with anyone and everyone. That's a myth. You don't need to make friends with anyone and everyone. If you give the right support, if you give the right service, if you give the right explanation, if you are able to connect the buyer and seller well through your profession of selling, becoming a friend is a byproduct. So you don't have to go and make friendship with anyone. You just have to build rapport. You just have to communicate. And I'm sure if you have done a good job about it, then as a byproduct, you become a friend. So nothing to be forced around that you must make friend with even someone whom you don't like his face, right? Now, if you take you to the sixth myth around, the sixth myth is again very popular amongst freshers. It says that salesperson has a very unstable life. Now, many of these freshers in sales who are trying to make a career in sales, they tell me that, sir, I don't want to join sales because there are targets, and if I don't achieve my targets, I will lose my job. So my job will be very unstable. I'm not sure how many months in a year I'm going to get my salary, and so on and so forth. This is wrong. First of all, this is wrong. First of all, you need to understand that sales is not only about frontline selling. There are multiple vacancies in the sales department. So you could be a telecaller, you could be an internet service provider, you could be a digital marketer, a social media marketer, you could be a direct mailing executive, or you could be a frontline sales executive, right? So it's not necessary that you have to be a frontline sales executive if you're into sales. Number one. Number two, any profession in the world, if you're not able to perform, you will be kicked out. So the same thing applies to sales. Now, the question here is that why do you think you will not perform? And hence, why do you think your life is unstable? Sales is also a science. You need to understand the science. You need to understand the process. And I'm sure if you follow the process of sales, you will perform. So this apprehension in your mind that, hey, I'm not going to join sales because I will not perform, and because I'll not perform, I'll not get my salaries, and I might lose my job. This is a whole Alice in Wonderland story. have trust on yourself and empower yourself with the process of selling. I'm sure this myth that you will not perform in sales will very soon go away. Now, let me take you to the seventh myth of sales. And the seventh myth of sales is a sales job is a thankless job with a lot of hard work. Well, those of you who do not make a career in sales because it is a lot of hard work, I'm sorry to say, friends, any profession you go is a lot of hard work. Sales job is a thankless job? No, why should it be thankless? This is the only profession in the world which can give you name, fame, and money at a speed which no other profession can give you. So why do you say it is thankless? It is thanking you. It gives you a name, fame, money at a speed faster than any other profession in the world. So it can't be thankless. So those of you who think that sales is a thankless job, I don't think you're serious with your life. Now, lot of you out there, they feel that sales is like begging. Now, there are salespeople who actually behave like beggars, and there are so many of them in percentage that people have started equating the profession of selling with begging. This is a myth. Selling is not begging. You need to understand the process of sales. You need to understand how you pitch yourself. You need to understand how do you do need analysis and objection handling of the customer. You need to understand how do you close the order. I'm sure by the time you understand all this, you'll realize that selling is a skill. Selling is a science. Selling is an art. It's a skill, which is a combination of skill and art, science and art. So definitely it is not begging. So those of you who feel that selling is begging probably have not been introduced to the function of sales in the right way. Please catch hold of a good sales guru for yourself, and I'm sure you will be able to break this myth in your mind. So let's come to the ninth myth, which is salesperson is a poor person with low salaries. Now, I really don't know how you arrived at this conclusion that salesperson is a poor person with low salaries. If you do not have the skill, if you're not performing, if you do not know how to sell, then in any profession, if you do not know how to do that profession, you will get low salaries. So same thing applies to sales. Every salesperson is not a poor person, my friends. Only those salespeople who do not understand selling, who have not gone through a proper training program on how to sell, who have who have not had the privilege of having a coach or a guru who will mentor them into the profession of selling. Only such people are poor because they don't know how to sell. I'm sure if you give yourself the privilege of learning sales, if you give yourself the privilege of practicing and understanding sales, hands on sales, you will not make this statement. Because actually, for me, it is exactly the reverse. Every good salesperson is a rich person with a lot of money all around him. Great. Now, let me come to the 10th myth that I want to break today. You can do well in this life without selling. Now, there are a lot of us who feel that sales is a dirty word, sales sucks, and if I can fulfill this life of mine without trying to dirty my hands into selling, then it's good enough for me. In fact, this is very true for a lot of SME CEOs who say that I'm a technical person, my idea is great, everything is great, and I'm ready to do everything other than selling. Now, this is a myth, right? You cannot, irrespective of whatever is your designation, irrespective of whatever are your likes or dislikes, irrespective of whichever profession you are into, you cannot do well in this life without selling. So you could be an HR manager working in a company. You have to sell ideas, you have to sell proposals, you have to sell prospects to your boss, to your colleagues. If you're an R&D manager, a scientist, you have to sell an idea to your boss. You have to sell the results of an experiment to your boss. So selling is all pervasive. Selling is omnipresent. Irrespective of whichever profession you are into, you have to learn selling, my friend. In fact, on a lighter note, I always say beg, borrow, or sell. So one of the three you have to do. You have to either beg, or you have to borrow, or you have to sell. So might as well learn selling. So surely sales is not indispensable. Everyone on earth has to learn selling, whether you want to pick up a direct career in sales or not. So surely it is not a dispensable function in life. Selling for me is as important as breathing. Just like you can't live in this world without breathing, you can't live in this world happily without a good knowledge about selling. So I'm sure with these 10 myths off your mind now, I'm sure if you are able to get over these 10 myths, you will be a much happier person. For all those of you out there who are trying to look for a career in sales, who are trying to make a career or build a career in sales, and are slightly frustrated or apprehensive about the fact that how the hell do you go about this, do listen to this LinkedIn Live 10 times and break these 10 myths from your life. Feel free to reach out to me on my email ID, that is sanjay at the rate of consultforsales.com. Let me just put it on the screens for you so that you know exactly where you need to contact. So it is sanjay at the rate of consultforsales.com. So feel free to post all your queries. Post all your queries on this. Why am I not taking this? Okay, let me delete one of the banners. Okay, now I should be able to show it to you. So that's my email ID, friends. You should feel free to post all those elements of sales which is troubling you, which is disturbing you, frustrating you, and hence not allowing you to make it big in the world of sales. That's my email ID for you on the screen. Feel free to reach out to me with all your questions on this profession of sales. Because for me, there is no profession in this world which can give you name, fame, and money at a speed faster than sales. And before I close, I would like to tell you, बेचना सीख लोगे तो ये जिंदगी जी लोगे. Bye bye.